This is Dirty Chai Radio Live. I'm Ryan Quinn, and I am blessed to be joined by Brian Bethke here on Dirty Chai Radio. And if you want to join the conversation, we're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, we're live on Mixcloud, kind of everywhere we are live. So feel free to join the conversation. And if you got a question for Brian, go ahead and talk with us and let us know. But Brian's been doing a lot of really great things here. So we want to get to know about all of those. And so without further ado, let's kind of hop into that if we could. Brian, welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you for having me, and thank you for supporting me so much over the years.
Absolutely, you've got quite a wide variety of music, of styles that you've done, and you keep on growing as a musician and using the things that life throws at you as inspiration for that. And it's one of the things I've always loved about your music. Tell me more about where we're at right now. I know you just released a single. You've been working on a new project. That single's going to be on that project. Where are we sitting in the world of Brian Bethke music?
Yeah, so right now I just released a single called Feel It. It's the first single off my new 7-song EP that we're releasing on. We've got vinyl, we've got cassette, we've got USBs for your car, we got the old-fashioned CDs, and it's just been it's a conglomeration of songs that I recorded throughout last year. I released some of them unmastered, but the whole project together sounded really great as an album, so we decided to throw it together as an album and release it as, just a full release, and had it remastered by Chris Hanzik, who's done mastering on Ghost Songs, The Broken Eights, some of my other projects. And it sounded really good. The songs are a lot different than what I usually do. Every album I kind of go in a different direction, not purposely, but just whatever I'm feeling at the moment. So really looking forward to getting out, playing some songs. We're doing a little tour. A lot of the stuff we're doing for promotion is just like this right here, is radio broadcasts and things like that. Trying to bring radio back into the world, a little bit more.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, talk about you alluded to one of my favorite albums that you've done, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later in this conversation. But talk a little bit about kind of your inspirations, if you will, because like you alluded to, that each album offers a little bit of a different sound. It's all very much Brian Bethke. You've never gone so far in a different direction that it doesn't sound like a Brian Bethke song, but each release or each project certainly leans in some sort of direction, especially with kind of your side projects like Broken Eights. Talk a little bit about the differences that come across and how those come to be.
Yeah, so my first album I ever did was Aberdeen, which was just a solo album. I recorded it on a Radio Shack mixer with some free software, so that was pretty stripped down acoustic. The first real studio album I did was the Ghost Songs album, and that's when I worked with producer Evan Middlesworth. We had a live band. We just basically rehearsed the night before and then went in and recorded the album pretty much live, and then layered on top of it with suggestions from Evan, which I think really helped bring the creativity to another level. And now with the I'll Be Okay EP, this is when I started in the midst of this disease I have, ankylosing spondylitis. I have really bad flares of spinal pain and inflammation where it makes it hard to work and move. And so I kind of took the hip-hop style of making albums, where instead of playing live all the way through the album, I started, like, the first song I recorded was I'll Be Okay. And I recorded a guitar track, because I could only play it for about a minute or two before the pain was so excruciating before I could play. So I would just do like a loop, and I would make that loop of the guitar, and then I added in drums with that, did a bass guitar loop. So most of the songs on that album, except for a couple, were basically created by loops. And then once I got the sound of the song, I just started singing words off the top of my head. And I was also dealing with this part of the disease is it affects my vocal cords. So in flares, I have a really raspy, painful voice. So the vocals on this album were, I basically sang them at a whisper, but I doubled them up to get that big full feeling. And it's a different type of recording that I've ever used before. I was working with a group called Nobody's Dope and Guest Pre, doing some hip hop stuff for them. And so I think part of working with them kind of pushed over into this album in the way I created it.
Talk about that kind of evolution of not just writing but recording and producing everything. Because you mentioned that with Aberdeen, your first release, there was that basically just sit down with the guitar and record it, and it is what it is, with maybe a little bit of post-production afterwards, to now you basically pieced it together minute by minute to create the full sound.
Yeah. So Aberdeen was basically I would write these songs, and I would just sit down with my guitar. I had it was like an MXL condenser microphone from my buddy Trevor, and I would just sit in front of that microphone, not really knowing what I was doing, and I would just play and sing like I would play and sing in front of people. And then what I would do is I would go over and add maybe one or two more tracks, because the computer I was using was old and that was all you could do. So it was pretty much like a live sit down, sitting with me in the room type of deal. As we went on, as I learned more, I started learning more about the production. And then that experience at Pine Hollow with Evan Middlesworth was really helped me understand the process of recording and different things. And so this album, everyone always told me, you need to record to a click track, and I never did that before. So with the Broken Eights, we started doing that, learning how, once you record to a click track, it's easier to cut and paste things and move them around. So I really went full force with this one, where it's like, okay, we're going to get the timing right. We're going to really focus on the music part of the album instead of just the lyrics and the vocals. And it was kind of it was healing for me at the time, because I was in a really rough patch with not knowing what my future would hold with dealing with this ankylosing spondylitis thing. It's something I never get rid of, but at that point I hadn't really discovered the changes I needed to make. So it was more just a personal project for myself. But as I started putting out different tracks from it, people were like, wow, this is a different sound, this is cool. And it started gaining some popularity in just some of the songs I put out. So I'm like, well, let's try to get out and tour this year a little bit and see what happens.
I know that, and perhaps you don't want to dive too much into this, but I know that as we've known each other and as we've continued to talk about your music, your illness has been something that's kind of always been there, but it's only now that you're really truly starting to understand that. Is that right?
Yeah. So ever since I was a kid, I had problems. When I was about 14, started having really bad problems with my hips and joints. And, they told me it was everything from depression to Lyme disease to fibromyalgia, and they never could really pinpoint the thing. Every 5 years or so, some doctor would tell me, we think it's this, and we'd try a medication, and the medications wouldn't work. And finally this year, well, within the last 5 years, I started bad with asthma issues, because about every 5 years it gets really worse. It has a big flare. And I finally got into a network of doctors who did the right tests and looked at the right things. And they're like, oh, we can tell now, because the damage is bad enough that they can look at the scans and see that it's this ankylosing spondylitis, which it affects my spine and and all of my joints. But your spine is your information highway. So it affects, everything from the way I walk, talk, move, think, because of that inflammation. But by finding out what it was, I've tried all the medications, because there's no cure, there's no real treatment, that's just pain treatment. And I've tried all of the things that they can do for it, and I've come to the decision that I'm not using any of that anymore. I'm weaning off of it, because the side effects are just worse than the actual disease itself. But through diet, exercise, just slowing myself down, understanding that I can only get out and play a month, or I can only do so much in a day, and limiting myself that way I went through, a year and a half worth of therapy to wrap my mind around it. But, it's always been a part of my music. It's always been that struggle that I sing about. And I think that's where a lot of people connect, because, not everyone has this disease, but a lot of people have their own struggles. And that's where I try to find that middle ground in my music writing, is to connect with others through that struggle.
I remember one of our last conversations coming out of COVID, and you had just released Baby I'm Tired, and had alluded to that name kind of being the product of a compound of different things, from being tired of doing shows and the toll that it was taking on your body and your voice, and being tired of, then as COVID got happened, being tired of not being able to go and do those things that you had at once kind of struggled to do as you were trying to find the diagnosis. Are you finding now that you know a little bit more that planning for shows, planning for recording is, I don't want to use the word easier, but maybe coming a little more natural?
Yeah, and that's where, like I said, I went through almost 2 years of therapy to wrap my head around this. It's actually how it's taking the ability to be out there and playing 3 to 5 nights a week for me. It's made me really appreciate when I do get out there to play, because every time I get out and play a show now, it's like, it feels like doing it for the first time again. And, it's given me more time to spend on recording and that other side of the music industry. Like, I do my podcast called The Neighbors Podcast. And I'm able to go to the studio whenever I want. And, it's really changed my perspective on it. Cause at that point with Baby I'm Tired, I was dealing with this, it's called like cricoidal thing. I can't remember what. It's some sort of arthritis related to the ankylosing spondylitis, but it basically turns your vocal cords hard and atrophies them. And I broke my vocal cords from coughing from a bad fit of COVID. And so I was just like, at that point, I was just so tired of trying to do the music thing and not understanding why my body wasn't agreeing with me. And, now that I've got a few, like 4 years past that now, I'm starting to learn the ways. My voice will never really get back to where it ever was, but I'm learning how to take care of it. Also with my body, that the challenge in life, it's pain and challenge, I think, makes you grow more as a person than just having an easy life. And my music career up until that point was pretty darn easy for me. I never had to work too hard at it. I think I was very blessed, however you want to see that it worked out so well. But now that I have to fight for a little more, I really appreciate it more.
Would you say that, obviously that's going to show in your music a little bit, but would you say that when you write music or you're producing music now, that it comes from a different place?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and it's like this album too, I was doing it more for myself, so it was like, as I grew, and my popularity grew from when I started to get in my head anytime I would record. It's like, what are the fans going to think, or what are the people going to think? And I was in so much pain when I recorded this album that I was just like, if it puts a smile on my face, and I have fun doing it, that's all it's about. So it's changed that perspective.
I want to talk a little bit more about the new music, but if we can take a step back here a little bit. In 2015, you released Ghost Songs, which, as you mentioned, was produced by Evan Middlesworth, and it's a seven-song album. Or is that an EP? I guess I don't know the technical.
I call them albums, but yeah.
So you've got. Out of all your releases, that one ranks up there for me. I really like that one. Can you talk a little bit about, and we'll contrast this in a couple minutes, but can you talk about the songs that are on that, from Ghost Song, The Watcher, Gone to Find Myself, Minneapolis, Wake Up, My Song, and Judged? They all, they fit on a release called Ghost Songs, but is there a bigger theme that goes throughout the Ghost Songs release?
Yeah, so the Ghost Songs release, it was was really kind of in that midpoint of my career where, I was out playing 4 or 5 nights a week. I was starting to feel that burnout coming. My disease was getting worse. We didn't know what it was. And I hit this point where it's like, because of lack of sleep, I would start to have these parasomnia episodes, where parasomnia is where you're dreaming, but you get up and you walk out, act out your dream. And it was to the point where, like Ghost Song was, the song itself was about this parasomnia episode I had, where I walked out into the snow it was like January, a blizzard, and I had this dream experience of, going into this alien thing and dying and sitting at the gates, basically. Well, not the gates. It was like in this big giant church, and just like I felt like I was waiting to be taken somewhere. And the dream felt like it lasted 3 days. And when I woke up in the morning, I had realized that, I woke up, I was freezing cold, I was wet, I was laying on my couch, and I was just like, what happened? I had a scratch on my face, and looked outside, and we saw that I had footprints, and I had been walking around in the snow throughout the night. And that experience really affected me, because I didn't know, was I going crazy? Was I abducted by aliens? But now it's like, as you get further past it, it's like these parasomnia episodes, it's lack of sleep does some crazy things to the mind. And because of lack of sleep, and especially my body trying to repair itself, I went through a really long period of, almost like a psychosis of, every time I go into the dreamland, it was more real than reality. And so that's what a lot of the songs were about. And I was also struggling, like, spiritually, politically, a million different things at the time. It was like a point of turmoil in my life. But like I said before, writing these songs down and just putting some of that emotion down is about it. But yeah, Ghost Songs was pretty much about my parasomnia, in short.
I want to talk about another song off of that release. It's track 5. It's called Wake Up. And every time I put on that album, it's always start at track 1, end at track 7. You listen to the whole thing. But every time I get to Wake Up, I can't describe the feeling that I get, but that one is definitely a standout track for me. Can you tell me a little bit about Wake Up?
Yeah, so it originally started, I had my friend Andy Plank, who I think at the time we were doing the Pulse Radio, he had shared this misconnections thing online. And in the misconnections thing, it talks about this person, seeing this guy who would walk around town, Claire, with his cigarette and his dog, and always watching for that. And one day they watched the guy walk into the water and slowly disappear as the cigarette disappeared into the water. And that's where the first line came to me. Like, I took a walk around to find myself a new sound. Was just kind of based loosely on that story I read. And the song is really about, waking up to the fact that we are all one people. We're not separate from the universe. We're not separate from each other. We all try to, look at politics, look at religion, look at our differences, and point out the differences instead of thinking how much we really are the same. We all want to be loved. We all want to be safe. We all, we have a lot in common. And that was just the song's about wanting people to wake up to that fact that, like, if we would just get along, spend the time to embrace our differences and get along, that we could wake up into this new world. It also has some cryptic, death in the end of it, about like, when we die, what do we wake up to next? Do we really wake up from this nightmare we're in, or what is it? But that's kind of the gist of the song.
Talk a little bit about the production on the song too, because along with the stories that you tell with the words and the imagery, the instrumentation of it really goes a long way to kind of solidifying that feeling, at least for me.
Yeah, and that's where that song, I was having a hard time putting it together, and Adam Harder-Nussbaum, the drummer, and then Evan Middlesworth, when we were recording that, it was their ideas to, start with that thump, thump, thump of the bass drum. And, they really had a lot of input in the different aspects of that song, where that's one of the songs, that and Gone to Find Myself. those guys really took the reins on that in directing me in a way like, let's try it this way, because I was originally just kind of strumming the chords of it, and I got to give them 100% credit on that.
Sure. And talk about that ending. Do I remember this right? That essentially you had just told those guys, make it sound like pots and pans are falling.
Yeah. So the ending was my idea, where it's like, it's just kind of that angst. And, a lot of times when we would play it live, I would just tell, people in the crowd, just use this time to just get out all your aggression, your angst, your pain, and just scream out. And I wanted it to sound like, like you took pots and pans and a drum set and just threw it down the stairs, to kind of show, in song form, what the chaos of the world sounds like. And to get through, just like those low points in life, you have to get through that ugliness, that chaos, that noisy part to really wake up into that new life.
Well, let's take a quick break here, a 3-minute, 13-second break here to listen to Wake Up. It's off of Ghost Songs from Brian Bethke, released in 2015. You can find it on Spotify, and all the major music streaming services. But Brian, you also have a website too, don't you?
Yes, and it has changed over the years through the pandemic. I lost brianbethke.com. So the new website is brianbethkemusic.com. Also my Facebook, my Instagram at Brian Bethke Music.
And this is the song Wake Up.
Find myself a new sound, and I fell from the bridge into the river flowing downtown. Gasped for air as the current it pulled me down. Made it in nick of time, but my dog was nowhere to be found. Who took you? Who took you? Don't blame each other for all these things we've lived through. Just look inside yourself and find that light and let it shine through. 'Cause there's a secret that they just don't want to tell you. You can do better things than all of them that came before you. If you wait, don't know. You can wait, oh no. Please just wait, oh no. We can wait, oh no. Tonight, please pray I had a good life. Please don't weep for me, 'cause I'll be floating on that starlight. You can join me when you wake up in this new life. When we meet again, we can laugh about the old lies. When we wake, don't know. If we wake, don't know. You can wait, don't know. Please just wait, don't know.
So that was Brian Bethke, off of the Ghost Songs project, Wake Up. And we've got Brian on the phone with us. By far one of my favorite local songs ever written. And like we mentioned before we played it, that ending with all the noise is just a perfect cap on that. But you've released things since then, obviously, a couple different things, and one of those things is the song "Breathing Underwater." And if I understand correctly, "Breathing Underwater" is the song is released now, but it's part of a bigger project that isn't out yet.
Yes. Yeah, so Breathing Underwater was last year around February. I put a thing out, trying to make some money that I would write songs for people. And Jerry Bouchard reached out to me. He's the owner of Norski Nook. He was part owner of Northwoods for a while. So I've known him for quite a few years in passing. And he reached out to me with some lyrics that he had written about he's got a lung disease that he deals with, and I also have eosinophilic asthma, and so I know that feeling of breathing underwater. And he wrote these poems and these words for the song and asked if I could put it into a song. So I took kind of his rough words that he had written down, and I changed it into the song, kind of putting my own experience into it, because at the same time, it's like it was dealing with this disease and all the things that come with it. So I think it turned out great. I got paid for the song. He also, it gets writing credits on it. He makes, half the money that we make off the song. And really, I don't do a lot of like co-writing with people other than like the Broken Eights. So to put something like that on my album, I think is really cool. So that'll be part of the I'll Be Okay EP. You can order it now. You can get it on vinyl. There's 50 vinyl we had pressed. We got about 75 left right now. So you can order those at my website. We'll be on Tapehead City, which is it's just a tape only online store out of New York. I just signed up with those guys, so they should have it up within the next couple of weeks. And it's just it's one of those songs. I think it hits you in the right spot.
Did you say tape only? So cassette only store?
Yeah, it's called Tapehead City. So what we did is I made them. So I made them on this old tape deck, which I'm releasing the album under a thing called Jim House Records. It's not a real record label. It's just in honor of my father-in-law who passed away a few years ago. But when I had first moved out of my house when I was 16, he let me move in this little house. It was this little white house. And after he passed away, it was fallen apart then, but it had fallen apart over the years. And after he passed away, he still owned the land and the house, and me and my wife got it back. So we took some of the money. When we sold that land, we took some of the money to put in the pressing and the making cassettes and stuff like that. So when he died, I found the old tape recorder he used to let me use back in the 90s to record stuff with. So I thought it'd be really cool to record cassettes on that tape recorder, of the album. And we're releasing it, like I said, on Tapehead City. It'll be up soon. And with the cassette comes a key. It looks like a little key. It's a key USB that you can plug into your car and listen in the car also. Nice.
So I will we'll take another quick break here to listen to the song "Breathing Underwater," which is Tapehead City. You can find it on cassette. It sounds like you can find it on vinyl, and of course, when the bigger project is released, you can find it on that as well. This is "Breathing Underwater," Brian Bethke on Dirty Chai Radio.
My life's been filled with lots of memories, clear blue lakes and mountain views, rivers flowing full of new life, breathing underwater too. Be not worried, my little children, be not worried of my fate. I'm just breathing underwater, waiting for the light. We are breathing in water. We are this world by water. With a cry you came to life. Now I drink of this holy water as I'm called into the night. Be not worried, my little children. Be not worried of my fate. I'm just breathing underwater, waiting for the light. We are breathing in water. We are. Travel the river Jordan through a beautiful tunnel of light, with all those who came before us in beautiful rays of white. Be not worried, my little children. Be not worried of my fate. I'm just breathing underwater, waiting for the light. We are breathing in water. We are. We are breathing in water. We are. We are breathing in water. We are. We are breathing in water. We are.
And that was Breathing Underwater, Brian Bethke on Dirty Chai Radio Live. I'm still Ryan Quinn, and Brian Bethke is still with me here in on the phone. And Brian, that was Breathing Underwater. It's coming off of your newest release, although you can stream Breathing Underwater right now on your favorite streaming service. And in a couple weeks, you can get it on cassette. But you also have more coming up this spring, don't you?
Yeah, so this coming week I have February 14th. We're at the VFW on Star Avenue. I'm doing a solo show there, so that's my first show in a couple months, so I'm looking forward to that. And then March 23rd at the Plus downtown Eau Claire is the real release. It's the big release where we'll have our vinyl there, we'll have our cassettes, we'll have CDs, all that. And my first real show back in Eau Claire for quite a long time. So looking forward to seeing all those people. And then coming up, we have some stuff like May. I will be down in Madison for, I don't know if you heard the guys from Max Inc. Radio. I'm doing an on-air live show with them. Well, that's June. Yeah, June 1st. But all the shows that are coming up that I'll be touring, all my tour schedule is on my website at brianbethkemusic.com. I'm doing about one a month. I might do two a month if people give me the right price. But right now I'm still just keeping it slower and learning my new pace.
Sure, and we wish you the best of luck on that, especially with new shows and new releases coming out. Speaking of, I'd like to play at least one more song while we've got you, and I'd like to hear a little bit more about it. It's called "Feel It." It's also going to be off of this next release. Tell me about the song, and tell me about how it fits into the larger project.
Yeah, so "Feel It" is a song about karma. Sometimes in life we can look at what's going on in our life when things seem to be falling apart and be like, what did I do to deserve this karma? So I took the idea of karma and be like, okay, what would karma look like as a person? And, it's kind of like that wild, crazy, I think of like a wild, crazy, witchy woman type thing, where it's like, she comes from heaven, but she's got those devil hooks. It's just kind of, I personified it in that way. And it's just about, like I said, the idea of karma, of like, karma's on its way, and, we all have to go through that. It's basically, you have to live the action or the reactions of your actions.
Maybe I'm not quite getting it, but it almost sounds like how people will personify or give death a humanoid form. You've kind of done the same thing with the idea of karma.
Yeah, perfect way to explain it.
So this is basically a song about karma coming to visit you, much like the ghost of death or whatever Scrooge got visited by. Is coming to talk to you about the things that you've done. And this is same release as Breathing Underwater. We'll be able to get it on vinyl at the show on March 23rd?
Yes, yeah. So there'll be, the track list on that is I'll Be Okay, a song called Howl, Snowflakes, Is It Okay Now, Breathing Underwater, Topaz Eyes, and Feel It will all be on that album.
And I noticed that Topaz Eyes, Breathing Underwater, and Feel It are all available right now on Spotify. So if you wanted a bit of a sneak peek, you can go ahead and search for that. Might as well, if you haven't already, just bookmark Brian Bethke on your favorite streaming service. That way, when the release drops, you're ready to go. And correct me if I'm wrong. I know you've said it a few times, so I feel pretty confident. It's called the release itself is called I'll Be Okay.
Yes.
All right, and so this is the last song that we're going to play from Brian Bethke on our live session here today. It's called Feel It, and again, it's a part of the bigger project, I'll Be Okay. Wide release with the release show happening at the Plus in Eau Claire on March 23rd.
You got them devil hooks. All the old men steal the dirty looks. Hanging with the boys and never ever had a penny to pay. As a me too moment every night of the week, waking up wasted on the side of the street, waiting for a moment to make you a part of a plan. Can you feel it? Breaking down, I can feel it coming round. Karma's on its way, she's mad as hell. Can you feel it? Breaking down. Myself to be a terrible place. It's cold outside, you tend to lose your place. Never, ever, ever would I throw away all that I had. You believe those stories that you made in your head, burn me down just because you're sad. I don't ever, ever want to be in this state again.